The city of Iridia never slept. A glittering metropolis of towering glass and steel, it was a monument to human ambition. But on this night, ambition was no match for Storm. Heavy, electric rain lashed against the skyscrapers, washing the neon glow into a fractured, watery dream. In a dark alley, where the city's light couldn't reach, a different kind of ambition struggled to survive. Lena sat with her back to a damp brick wall, her arms wrapped around a small, bundled figure, her baby daughter Lily. A single, frayed blanket was her only shield. Lena was blind. She hadn't seen the city's lights in years, but she felt its indifference like a physical weight. As the rain soaked through her thin clothes, she brought a worn harmonica to her lips. The melody that emerged was hauntingly beautiful, a song of sorrow and defiant hope. In a sleek, self-driving electric car, a man named Elias Thorne watched the storm. He was a founder of Omni Corp, a tech giant that had built much of Iridia's infrastructure. Elias was a man of logic, efficiency, and data. His own emotions had been filed away long ago after a painful betrayal. He saw the world as a problem to be solved. As his car glided past the alley, its advanced sensors flagged a biological anomaly. Elias, out of morbid curiosity, overrode the system and slowed the vehicle. Through the rain-streaked window, he saw her, a young woman, shivering, her blind eyes fixed on nothing, playing a tune that seemed to tear at the heart of the storm itself. Her baby stirred, whimpering. Elias felt a flicker of the human emotion he had long suppressed. It wasn't pity. It was a jolt of recognition, a connection between her raw, unfiltered art and the cold, calculated world he inhabited. He opened his door and stepped out. The torrential rain hit him instantly, soaking the shoulder of his custom-tailored suit. "Sir, what are you doing?" his automated driver's voice asked. Elias ignored it. He grabbed a slim, elegant umbrella from the back seat and walked toward the alley. Lena heard the new footsteps, different from the frantic scurrying of the crowds. She stopped playing, clutching Lily tighter. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I have nothing. We just need to stay dry." Elias knelt before her, his shoes sinking into a puddle. He held the umbrella to shield her, but he didn't try to hand it to her. He just held it, a silent gesture. He extended a hand and gently touched the harmonica. "Your music," he said, his voice surprisingly soft, "is a masterpiece." Lena's fear gave way to shock. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Elias then looked at Lily, whose tiny hand was now reaching toward the rain-slick concrete. "Come," he said simply. "You and your masterpiece both." He didn't wait for her to answer. He stood, and a moment later, a blanket-wrapped Lily was in his arms. He then helped Lena to her feet, her legs weak from cold and hunger. Without a word, he led her across the street, opening the back door of his pristine car. People stared, some pulling out phones, but Elias didn't notice. He was focused on the two fragile lives he had just pulled from the storm. Where are you taking us?" Lena asked, her voice trembling. Elias looked at her, then at the peacefully sleeping Lily. "Somewhere safe," he said. "Somewhere you can play." Inside Elias's penthouse apartment, the warmth was overwhelming. Lena sat on a plush sofa, a steaming mug in her hands. Lily, fed and swaddled in a soft blanket, slept soundly in a bassinet. Elias sat opposite her, quiet and observant. "You're a musician," he said, stating a fact. "I used to be an artist," she corrected him. "A visual artist. I painted landscapes. The harmonica, that's all I have left." She explained how an industrial accident had taken her sight, how her partner had left her, and how the city had forgotten her. Elias listened, his face a mass of focus. "The accident," he finally said. "It caused a specific type of optic nerve damage. A type that, with the right technology, might not be permanent." Lena scoffed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Sir, I appreciate your kindness, but I've heard it all. Doctors, hospitals, they all said it was hopeless." Elias stood and walked over to a panoramic window, looking out at the city he had helped build. "I don't deal with hopeless," he said, turning back to her. "My company, OmniCorp, is working on something new. Bionics, AI-assisted surgical robotics. It's all cutting-edge, experimental." He paused. I want to fund your surgery. My resources, my technology, my team. Lena gasped. You can't be serious. Why? A stranger. Elias walked over to a wall and pulled up a holographic image of a young boy smiling. My little brother, he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. He was a con artist. He used me, stole everything, and left me for dead. I learned to believe only in data and logic, to protect myself from sentiment. The hologram vanished. But your music, he continued, looking directly at her blind eyes, had no motive. It was pure. It's the most honest thing I've seen in years. He knelt again. Let me solve this problem, Lena. Let me prove that my technology can do more than just build a city. Let me give you back your sight, so you can see your daughter. 2 weeks later, Lena was in a state-of-the-art operating room at an OmniCorp research facility. Elias had pulled every string, gathered the best minds, and overseen every detail. The operation was risky, a fusion of robotics and microsurgery never before attempted. Days later, in a sterile hospital room, a doctor began to remove the bandages. Slowly, Lena, he said, just blink. Focus on the light. The light was blinding, but then it began to resolve. Shapes, colors, the gentle face of the doctor. Her breath hitched. She looked around the room, her eyes darting, hungry for detail. Then she saw him, Elias Thorne, standing in the corner, his face etched with a tension she had never seen on him before. Then her eyes found the small bassinet next to her bed. A tiny, perfect face looked back at her. Her daughter, Lily. A rush of emotion, joy, wonder, and overwhelming love hit her all at once. She reached out and touched Lily's cheek for the very first time. Tears streamed down her face. I can see you, she whispered, her voice shaking. I can see my beautiful daughter. Elias, in the corner, finally exhaled. The data was a success. But the feeling in his chest was something else entirely. It was a human feeling, raw and real. And for the first time, he didn't try to hide from it. A year passed. The alley was just a memory. Lena's new life was filled with color. Not just the colors of the world, but the colors she painted every day in her new art studio, a space Elias had personally designed for her. Her art now burst with new vitality, a new joy she had never known. Elias had changed too. He was still a tech magnate, but he was no longer a prisoner of his own cynicism. He had started a foundation to help other artists and musicians who had fallen on hard times. And he was no longer alone. He had Lena and Lily. One evening, they were in a park, Lily now a toddler, laughing as she chased a butterfly. Lena was painting a sunset. Elias sat beside her, his hand resting gently on hers. You know, Lena said, her eyes on the canvas, you gave me more than my sight back. You gave me back my soul. Elias smiled, a genuine, warm smile. He looked at the painting, then at the sunset, then at Lena, his hand tightening around hers. And you, he said, gave me back my humanity. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. A beautiful, silent masterpiece that they could now see together.